Hello and welcome to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Batholkis, and this is Mandalorian, Season 1, Episode 4, Chapter 4, Sanctuary. Welcome, everybody. There's been a little new addition to this back shelving back here. If you've taken a look over here, there's someone who's got a gun pointed at me right back there. Yes, that just came in right before Thanksgiving. That was actually kind of cool that it came in a little earlier. I thought it was going to come in today, but it got sped up a little bit. So, a little bit of business first before I do anything. Um, if you like what you see here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Also, if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, you can hit the little bell down below. If you already hit the bell, don't hit it again. It will unclick. You can go in the bell settings and get as many or as little notifications as you want. It's still a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you of when I'm on. So the best bet is to go to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at my schedule. I have it up there. I change it out every week. I also mirror it on my Facebook page, and also on Facebook, I have a Facebook group where you guys can join, post stuff, and talk amongst yourselves as well. I also have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I have a Patreon page, but no tiers as of yet. That will happen at the end of this year, beginning of next year. Da, 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 da. That's all of it. So, spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the episode. If you have not seen the episode, go and watch the episode. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. Thank you, Viking Bitch, for the new paddle. Yes. All right. So, yeah, we finally got Gina Carano on here too, which is good. I've been following Gina Carano for a while now, since she did Haywire back in, I want to say it was like 2011 or something like that. And it was a good movie. I mean, kind of basic plot line, but it's a good movie. So for those people out there that are complaining about, there's been some complaints about this series about no women being in this. There are women in this series. There have been since the beginning, since the first episode. They've just been covered up in armor and whatnot. It happens. So yeah. So let's get started here, shall we? Hey, Jody. Uh, so we have people fishing in a village, children playing, kind of an idyllic setting, something that we don't really see too much of in Star Wars. And of course, that idyllic setting is shattered fairly quickly by laser blasts and raiders coming in and taking their food and whatever else they have that's not nailed down out there. And we have Mando and Boda on their ship there, and I'm calling him Boda. It's Baby Yoda, but Boda is easy there, and it's kind of funny. Boda is pushing buttons, and Mando's telling him not to do it. And I love that one little thing where he tells Boda not to do it, and Boda just kind of stands there and goes and hits a button, and the whole ship starts shivering. He turns it off and grabs Boda and puts him in his hands. And he goes, here we go. Here's the Sorgan system. He goes, there's no, established bases. Everything looks pretty good. I think we can hide out there for a couple of months and you'll be happy there, is what he says. So it turns out also to be the planet where we just saw these people fishing. No coincidence, of course. Excuse me. So Mando tells Boda to stay on the ship, that he's going to go check things out, see if they can get their lodging and all this stuff. And he tells him to stay. And of course, Boda is not having any of this. He's following him and he's waddling along after him, just kind of walking along. Yes, the little womp rat. He'll be happy, happy little womp rat, as he called him. And they end up going into a marketplace and sit down to eat. And I love, we actually got a live action version of one of the cats from Rebels. It was in a cage, and as they walked past, Baby Yoda gets growled at by the cat, and it was kind of interesting to see one of those live action things. I know that Dave Filoni, of course, one of the executive producers of the show, but John Favreau is also a fan of the Clone Wars and the Rebels shows and all that kind of stuff because, of course, he's done voices for these things as well. And that's kind of what I like, is that he's bringing in a lot of the stuff, which is canon, by the way. All the animated stuff that Disney has done is Star Wars canon. So for those of you who are purists and saying it's not canon, it's bullshit. It is canon. And that's what I loved about them bringing that in. and it looked like the animated cat, but just in live action form. It was really kind of interesting the way they did that. So they get into the marketplace there, and he asks the server to bring some bone broth for Boda, and then he asks about this woman that's sitting over at the table there. He goes, "How long has she been on planet for?" And the server's like, "Well, I don't really know." And he gives her some money, and she's like, "Oh, well, I don't think she's one of the other loggers or anything like that. She just seems to be out of place. She's been here for a little while. I don't know how long." Blah blah blah. And as soon as he looks back up at her again, she's gone. The woman that was sitting at the table, and he gives some more money to the server and says, "Keep an eye on the little one, and I'm gonna go take a look." He basically is going after this woman that he saw in the marketplace, and he's tracking her down with her thermal footprints with his thermal vision. And of course, he gets jumped by this woman, and they start fighting. And she's holding her own. She's actually knocking his ass down, and really giving it to him at this point. And finally, they end up in a stalemate with their guns drawn on each other. And then they hear a little sipping in the background. And you see little Boda standing there with his bone broth, his little bowl of bone broth, sipping out of it. And I thought that was pretty fucking funny. Yes, you're right, Jody. That was the Loth cat from Ezra Bridger's Homeworld, Lothal. That is correct. But yeah, the little, Bodo just sitting there, just slurping out of the cup, watching them fight. It's got some really good little comedic elements. And by the way, this episode was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard too. So I believe it's her inaugural, her directorial debut. So that was actually kind of interesting, and she did a good job. I mean, it's actually a really good story. And I'm going to get into some of the stuff here at the end too. Like I said, I'm going to go through the recap first, really quickly, and then we'll go through the review too. So they sit down in the marketplace, and she tells him that she was a former shock trooper on the Battle of Endor. And after that, they spent time just mopping up Imperial troops here and there, just going to different planets, mopping these guys up. And she goes, then when the Republic started turning to politics, she's like, screw that. I left. And she goes, I thought that basically you had a tracker on me, and that, you had a fob on me, which is why I attacked you. And he says, yeah, I kind of figured as much. And he goes, well, with both of us on the planet, obviously, both of us being looked for, somebody's going to come across us sooner or later. And she says, well, I was here first. And he's like, yeah, all right, I'll leave. Don't worry about it. I'll get out of here. Yeah. Um, so so what ends up happening is he's going back to his ship. He's loading stuff back up again when these two guys from the village come by and say, hey, you're a mercenary, aren't you? And he goes, no, what makes you think that? And he goes, well, you're in Mandalorian armor, and Mandalorians are mercenaries, and we've got some money, we've got some raiders that are coming in we want you to get rid of. And he looks at the money, he's like, that's not enough. And that's when they go, well, well, shit, we got to go back to the village now, empty handed. And we're out in the middle of nowhere. We might get jumped. We're going to have no escort. And he goes, wait a minute, you're out in the middle of nowhere? And he goes, do you have lodging? And that's pretty much what he's looking for, is something that's out in the middle of nowhere at this point. Yeah, I don't know about Boda. If he has a chip on him or what's going on. That's the other thing, is we don't know how Boda is being tracked. We'll get to that in a little bit. Move for Nobi. I'll get to that near the end here. So, he goes, give me those credits that you have. He goes, give me all of them. And he goes over to Cara Dune. I'm just going to call it, because that's her name, Cara Dune. And he says, hey, do you want to help me with these villagers? And she goes, that's not a lot of money. He goes, hey, worst thing is you get to try out your blaster a little bit, and at best, you end up getting some credits out of it, for a free meal kind of thing. And she's like, all right, sure, what the hell. And so they end up going out to the village there, and Mando ends up getting put up in the barn by this woman that we saw earlier on. And they describe her as the widow. That's pretty much what they call her. And she introduced him to her daughter. And the daughter wants to play with Boda and feed him and all that stuff. And he's like, yeah, okay. And then when they start leaving, Mando's like, wait a minute. And the widow's like, they'll be okay. Everything's going to be fine. Just chill, you know? and she brings him some food and says, "Hey, you know, when's the last time you have taken off that helmet and shown another person your face?" And he says, "When I was her age," kind of thing. And she goes, "You mean another person's never seen your face since you were a kid?" And he goes, "That's the way of things." And she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna bring this." So she brought him some food and left so that he can eat. And you see him take off his helmet so he can eat. We don't see his face. We just see him take off his helmet at this point. So we got Mando and Cara Dune end up tracking the bandits, and they're out there and they're taking a look and see tracks for an ATST. And they're like, okay, this changes shit a lot because an ATST can take out a lot of fucking people. So Mando comes back and he basically bluntly tells the villagers, goes, "You can't live here anymore. You got to move." And Cara's like, "Your bedside manner really sucks." And he goes, "You want to give it a shot?" And she's like, "Yeah." She goes, "Okay, they have an ATST, and I've seen them take out entire platoons. So there's no way we can fight against this." And the villagers like, especially just the two of us. And they're like, and the villagers like, "Well, wait a minute, we got like 20." And he goes, "Yeah, how many of you know how to fight?" Is what she says. And they're like, "Well, we're willing to learn. Just tell us what we need to do. We'll do it." And Mando's like, "Okay, we can teach them. And I think we can do it if we get some a plan together, kind of thing." And so, of course, they plan to take how to take out the ATST, and it's by setting traps, and then also training the villagers in how to fight. And he asks them, "Who here knows how to shoot?" And of course, the widow raises her hand, and he opens up his case full of guns, starts handing out blasters, and giving target practice. And we see the widow really fucking knows how to shoot. She's hitting everything rapid fire, like with the blaster. And holy shit, that's all I can say. Is that she really knew. And I really want to know a little bit more about her background, since this seems like a place where people go who have problems, go and hide out, is on this planet. Um, so Kara and Mando say, "You know what? We're going to go into the trooper. They're actually called Clatoonians. We're going to go into their camp tonight, and then all hell's going to be raised. By the morning," is what he says. So be ready for us when we come back. Sure enough, Kara and Mando go into the Clatoonians enclave there, kill a couple of them, go into a hut where they see some stuff going on, and he sets a little detonator. And before they can get out, they get spotted, and they have to fight in order to get out of the hut before the thing explodes. And finally, it explodes, and the ATST comes online, starts coming after him, shooting at him, and they lead it back to the village because they're running back. And by the time they get back, they're like, "Okay, everyone ready?" They've got battlements set up. They've got their blasters set. They've got traps set for the ATST. The ATST comes right to the edge of the trap and then looks down and it's like, "Nope," and starts blasting at the embattlements and then sends in their troops. And so this big battle ensues, and Kara's like, "We got to change up the plan. Give me your pulse rifle." So she grabs pulse rifle, jumps into the water, starts shooting at the ATST from below it, and finally coaxes it into the water, and it falls in. Mando goes running over, throws in a little detonator, and blows it up. And there we go. So once we get that thing done, the Clatoonians that are left basically scatter. They retreat at this point. So we see Boda, having a great time there. He's catching a frog that we saw the kid in the very beginning couldn't catch, and he puts it in his mouth, and all the other kids are like, "Ew," and he spits it back out again because it tastes horrible, I guess. And Kara's asked Mando, you know, he could just stay there. That they've been there for a couple of weeks now. At this point, it's past a couple of weeks, and she tells him basically that he could just stay there with the widow, uh, drink, be happy, raise the kid, all that kind of stuff. And she goes, "What happens if you remove the helmet? Will they kill you? Will they come after you?" Kind of thing. And he's like, "No." He goes, I can't put it back on again." And she goes, "All right, that doesn't sound so bad. So why don't you just stay here?" And he goes, "Because of all the stuff that we just did with the explosions and this being such a small planet, word is going to get out that we're here. And of course, we're going to be screwed. So I have to leave." And she goes, "Well, it's gonna break his little heart," is what, Kara says. And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "That's why I'm gonna keep him here. I'm gonna have him stay here," is what he tells her. And, at this point, we see a guy with a tracker walking through the woods. So obviously the tracker is back online kind of thing, hunting Boda there. And we see Mando talking to the widow about leaving, and he wants to leave Boda there with her. And she says, "That's great. I'll raise him as if he was my own." And then she goes, "Why don't you stay as well?" And she reaches up to his helmet, and he doesn't stop her. And she's lifting up his helmet, and we see the bounty hunter has his sights set on Mando there, and he goes, "No, can't do it," is what he tells her. And then we see the bounty hunter switch over to Boda, and he's got his sights set on Boda, and he's tracking in, and all of a sudden we hear a gunshot go off, and he tells, "Get the kids, make keep them safe." And we see that Kara has actually shot the bounty hunter, and he goes over and goes, "There's gonna be more. There's gonna be a lot more of them. We need to leave," is what he tells her, that he and Boda need to leave at this point. And you know, excuse me, Kara offers to come with him, for protection on the road. And he goes, "You know what? We're not going to the town. We're just going straight to the ship, and we're leaving from there." And she's like, "All right, but if you need me, you know where I'm at," kind of thing. And they say their goodbyes and they leave the village. And that's where we leave off on the episode. So, a really serviceable episode that actually brings about some more of the Mandalorian lore for him, anyway, as to what happens if he removes his helmet, how long he's had that helmet on. We've got a lot of information out of that. Plus, we also have that the tracker is still active in that it's tracking Boda. Is it in his clothing? Is it inside him? Is it the midichlorians in him? What is it that's tracking him? We don't know what the fuck these guys are tracking, because obviously they can track it across great distances at this point. Yeah. So, did anyone get a Yojimbo vibe from this one? Yeah, it's Jody. The entire thing is set. So, what makes this series work is it is very, very simple. It's very simple. It's got a simple story. It is a Yojimbo vibe. It's a very Western vibe. It's both, the Japanese lone swordsman, and it's also the gunslinger, the bounty hunter gunslinger, Clint Eastwood kind of thing. It's both because both are taken from the same cloth. This was a good thing that John Favreau actually took. He's a fan of this kind of genre, and he's always wanted to do something like this, and that's why I'm kind of glad he's doing this in the Star Wars universe. And it's something we haven't seen in the Star Wars universe as of yet. We've dealt with Force users. We've dealt with, one family in an entire fucking galaxy for the last 40 years. um, I'm kind of glad that we've moved away from that and we've gone over to this. That's why this series works, whereas the new movies, not so much, because the new movies are still, it's basically more sequels to a 40-year-old movie is what we're getting, instead of different stories within this universe, and different well-written stories, not overly complicated, um, with good characters. You don't need to have a lot of emoting going on. You actually hear it actually at one point in Mando's voice when the widow says he could stay here, that it's very peaceful, he can get the peace that he deserves, and his voice cracks for a second when he says, "Yeah, I know." And that was kind of interesting that we got that out of him, that kind of emotion, even without seeing his face. And Jody says, "I'm guessing we'll eventually see more of Kara later in the series." Yes, we're definitely going to see more of Kara. You wouldn't hire on this kind of actress just to have her as a one-off. She's a former MMA fighter, by the way, um, and she was in Deadpool, the first Deadpool. She's been in lots of different movies, and she's actually good. She's a good action star and a good actress too. She's not a horrible actress either, which is good. Kind of a fistful of dollars. What? There's more than just the Skywalkers? Yeah, I know, really. Sven Sandstrom says, "I thought it was a good show. Did Mando say that Kara was a shock trooper?" Yes. There's a mention in there, a former shock trooper, and I don't know if she says it or if he says it. I actually put the subtitles on this time. So yes, it was a former she's a former shock trooper. Is what she is, which I found interesting. She's not super fantastic, but she's way better than yeah, she's light years beyond Ruby Rose. Yeah. Go and watch Haywire. It's a movie that was, like I said, it was 2011, 2009, 2011, somewhere around there. And it's got Michael Fassbender in it too. It's got quite a few actors in there, and it's a good movie. The ending's a little, but the rest of it's good, and it's got some good action in it too. And she does all her own stunts. So, yeah, definitely I mean, this episode was good, and we got some good comedy too, little comedic bits, especially with Boda just kinda reaching out slowly and then hitting the button inside the ship. Uh, you missed a Fassbender move. Yeah, he actually, they have a fight scene that's a one kick-ass fight scene within the hotel room too, Pen. That is, you could see it coming. I mean, you can totally see it coming, and it's actually a really nicely done fight scene. So, yeah, she was in Fast and the Furious too, yeah. Um, she's evidently former Rebel Alliance and a shock trooper. Yeah, Jody, she said all that. She actually said she was at the Battle of Endor. Once they finished there, she was going to different Imperial holdouts and different worlds, and they were mopping up all the different Imperial bases that were out there. And then that's when she said when the politics started kicking in after that was done, that's when she decided to leave. Yeah. Yeah. No, you do not want to arm wrestle her. She is so her story, I know way too much about her, honestly. It was kind of funny. She was a couch potato. Even says she was a couch potato. And then she saw some MMA fighting on TV, I think it was, and decided to take some classes and became transformed her body, became an MMA fighter, and started doing competitive MMA fighting, and then rolled it into movies. So it's kind of an interesting uh thing with her. And yes, she is not a slender girl. She is a bigger girl, which means that she is able to take on big guys, and she can really kick the fuck out of big guys. Yes. For all those who complain that, Scarlett Johansson being this little wisp of a woman, taking down these big guys. No, she is in the what I remember her they're saying what she was. I wanna say she was in the 180 range, somewhere like that. Yeah. I remember, Penn, I told you there was a list of actors in Haywire that is just amazing. The group of actors that are in that movie, you're just like, "Holy fuck." How did and I saw that in the theater when it came out. Yeah, Michael Fassbender was in a slew of movies in the early 2000s where he played a bad guy, and I wanna say he played the same bad guy with tattoos in both, Wild Wild West and Jonah Hex. I wanna say it was the same character for the most part. So, yeah. Jody says, "Yeah, Dennis, when the Mandalorian's voice breaks a little, so much subtext in that moment, so much is communicated without too much dialogue." Exactly. And that's what's good about this series. This is the way you want to do good TV, good movies. And the thing is, this right now, the ratings on this, they say it's probably double what Stranger Things was getting. Of course, no one tells you on the streaming services what their viewership is. That's been the coy thing lately. But yeah, supposedly it's more than Stranger Things now at this point. And some have even said almost double Stranger Things. if that gives you an indication of how popular it is. And it's across the board for the most part. Yeah, I wanted her as Wonder Woman, Jody. That was my pick for Wonder Woman. That she would have been a believable Amazonian. But no, they went with Wispy Woman, Gal Gadot, which is fine. I mean, but I wanted someone that could actually fight when it came down to it, and they went another direction. Yeah, we're seeing Mando slowly um, moving away, and the other thing was too is he says that the Mandalorians took him in, so I don't think he was of Mandalore to begin with. That he was a foundling, but the Mandalorians took him in to train him in their ways, and so that was one of those things. Yeah, I know Lubella that, Gal Gadot is in the military, yes, but, she really yeah, yeah. Yeah, Gal Gadot would have made a great Captain Marvel, quite honestly. I would have been fine with that. Exactly, Jody. Excuse me. Classic storytelling, minimal dialogue, yet a lot is communicated, and, again, we're not holding up the story to go, "Wait a minute, we're in the middle of a battle, let me give you some pertinent information about my background." No, all this information is given out in little tidbits here and there, and we can fill in the blanks of some other stuff. And again, it's good writing, it's good directing too. We're getting some good direction out of this as well. And yes, it makes you want to, you can't wait to see the next episode. You want to see how it's going to be done. I know when this series is over with, I'm going to binge watch it and watch all the series, all the way through as one gigantic movie because that's the way it's playing out, quite honestly. It plays like one good Star Wars movie, a long Star Wars movie with a story. Yeah. Ah, I should have checked the schedule. The widower looked familiar. She was in was she in Westworld? So I don't know. She might have been. Um, but she didn't look familiar to me, quite honestly. Yeah. So what's going on today is I've got a three for today. Um, Titans is going to be on at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to do that as well. That's the season finale of Titans. Yes. So Titans season 2 is blissfully going to be done. And then I believe this evening sometime, I'm guessing I'm going to do around 5-ish. Excuse me. I'm going to do the inaugural episode of Harley Quinn, the animated Harley Quinn for DC Universe as well. So I'm going to do both series today. And then, of course, tomorrow is going to be Saturday Morning Blast Off. Saturday Morning Blast Off, where I take the genre news of the week, talk about anything, all of that, and anything else you want to talk about that's genre wise. Sunday, of course, is the double header of Mr. Robot and Watchmen. And then, of course, Monday is his Dark Materials. And then we swing back around again to Fridays. I might keep Harley Quinn on Fridays. I was thinking about moving her over to Tuesdays or something like that, but no, I might just keep her on Fridays. Titans is still far from the worst thing I've ever watched. Yeah, it is, but it's still pretty much near the bottom of the barrel there. Uh, Jody says Dennis Gina Carano is both beautiful and can actually fight. She'd have an amazing. She'd have made an amazing Wonder Woman. Yeah, exactly. He also says my understanding of Mandalorian cultures is that it's not so much about lineage as transmission of culture. So you don't need to be a man of Mandalorian descent. Yeah. So, but I know they kind of look down upon people that aren't born of Mandalore. So within the clans themselves. Yeah. What does Phonovich think of Mr. Robot? They're still catching up, Pen. I believe they're on season 3 right now. Oh, excuse me. So it's cold and rainy here today, and it has been. I mean, it's been pissing down rain like crazy. So yeah, it's been messing havoc with my sinuses, I guess, which is kind of weird, but hey. Has it improved since season 1? It's Titans is a much better than it was season 1. Season 1 was a clusterfuck, but yeah, it's not much better than it's it's not great, let's just say. Oh, they caught up. All right, there we go. Nice. It's about time. I've only been telling them since you know. I'm even more peeved with Titans after watching Nightwing, and I'll leave it at that. Well, you can join me this afternoon, Sven, and you can tell me about it. Yeah, I haven't watched it as of yet. So I just watched Mandalorian this morning. I was gonna watch it last night, but it was just I was too tired last night, quite honestly. Yeah. So so Jody, Titans, the first episode is actually the last episode of season 1. So it's really shitty. Second episode is where it actually gets better. And yes, that Superboy Crypto episode was just beautiful. And that should have been its own series by itself. So I'm gonna let you guys go because yeah, we're already 30 minutes in, and I don't want to run too far over into this because people are gonna start bitching about, well, your review is longer than the episode was. Yeah, it's because I'm talking about other stuff too. You know, I do get that every now and then in my comments, among other things. But what do you want to, yeah, what do you want for free stuff? So if you like what you see here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you want to know when I'm gonna be on live again next, hit the little bell down below there. And let's see, you can also go to my website, suspendifanimation.com, take a look at the schedule up there. Also, it's mirrored on my Facebook page. Speaking of Facebook, there is a Facebook group page. You guys can join there, post stuff that you want to share amongst yourselves. Be nice to everybody, talk to everybody, all that kind of stuff. I've got a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and also a Patreon page, but I don't have a tier set up as of yet. That will happen at the end of this year, beginning of next year. Thank you, everybody who joined me today in the chat. And I will see you later on this afternoon for Titans, the season finale. Also, the season finale of Titans, you can go into the running for the poster. I'm giving away a poster, the Titans poster. So there we go. And I will see you guys at 3 p.m. Until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may have a little loath cat that growls at you as you go past it in the market. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in a little bit.